Picture this, a couple, both college-educated professionals. Combined income? $145,000 a year. Top 20% of American earners. They should be winning at life, building wealth, sleeping peacefully at night. Instead, they're up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering why their bank account is empty 2 days before payday. They make more money than their parents ever dreamed of, yet somehow they're broke. And the terrifying part? This isn't about them being bad with money. This is about a trap so perfectly designed, so brilliantly disguised, that millions of families walk right into it and never see it coming. Let me introduce you to Sarah and Marcus. Sarah works in corporate communications, pulls in $78,000. Marcus is a software developer, makes $67,000. Combined, $145,000 a year. They did everything right, got the degrees, landed the careers, got married, combined their finances like the experts told them to. They bought a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a good school district, 2 reliable cars in the driveway. Their kids go to a decent daycare. They even have a 401k. From the outside, they're crushing it. They're living the American dream. But here's what nobody sees. Last month, when their HVAC system died in the middle of summer, they had to put the $4,200 repair on a credit card. Not because they're irresponsible, not because they're living above their means, but because after all their bills are paid, after groceries, after gas, after everything, there's nothing left. $145,000 a year, and they're living paycheck to paycheck. Does this sound insane to you? Because it should. But here's what's going to blow your mind. This isn't a personal failure. This is a systemic trap that's been slowly tightening around American families for the last 50 years. And if you're working alongside a partner, both grinding, both exhausted, wondering why it never feels like enough, you're already caught in it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you will completely change how you see your money. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to escape this trap before it destroys your financial future. Here's what we've been told our entire lives. 2 incomes are better than 1. It's simple math, right? If one person making $60,000 can support a family, then 2 people making $60,000 each should be able to support that same family and have an extra $60,000 left over for savings, investments, vacations, building generational wealth. 1 + 1 = 2. Basic arithmetic. Except that's not what happened, not even close. What actually happened is one of the most sophisticated financial traps in modern history, and it's hiding in plain sight. The phenomenon has a name, the 2-income trap. And here's the part that nobody talks about. Families with 2 working parents are actually more likely to go bankrupt than single-income families. Not less, more. Let that sink in for a second. Working twice as hard, bringing home 2 paychecks, doing everything society told you to do, and you end up more likely to lose everything. That's not a bug. That's a feature. And you need to understand how it works before it's too late. Before we go further, let me introduce myself. My name is Chris Cash, and I've dedicated my life to understanding why hardworking families stay broke despite doing everything right. I've analyzed over 3,000 household budgets, interviewed hundreds of 2-income families, and uncovered financial traps that most people never see coming. What I'm about to share with you isn't taught in business schools, isn't discussed by traditional financial advisors, and it's definitely going to challenge everything you thought you knew about building wealth. So if you're ready to finally understand why your money disappears despite a solid income, stick with me. If you're someone who looks at your combined income and thinks, we make too much money to feel this broke, then smash that subscribe button right now. Because what I'm about to show you isn't taught in schools, isn't discussed by financial advisors, and it's definitely not what the banks want you to know. Let me take you back to 1970, because understanding the past is the only way to escape the trap you're in right now. And what you're about to discover is going to make you angry. Really angry. Bell bottoms, muscle cars, and something that seems almost mythical today, a single income that actually worked. Back then, only about 40% of married women were in the workforce. The typical middle-class family, One breadwinner, usually the father. One parent at home, usually the mother. Managing the household, raising the kids. And here's what nobody tells you about that era: that single income was enough, not barely enough, actually enough. A median single-income family in 1970 could afford a median-priced home, spending about 25% of their income on housing. 25%. Let that number burn into your brain because we're coming back to it. They could afford food, health care, a car, public schools that were well-funded, regardless of zip code, and they still had money left over for savings, for emergencies, for the occasional family vacation. They had something that seems almost impossible today: financial breathing room, financial margin, financial peace. But here's the genius part, the part that made the whole system resilient. They had a backup plan, an insurance policy, a reserve that could be activated in an emergency. If the breadwinner got sick, if they lost their job, if something went wrong, the stay-at-home parent could enter the workforce. That second potential income was like a financial parachute, folded up, ready to deploy if needed, but not deployed by default. Now fast forward to today, 2025. Female workforce participation, nearly 60%, higher among married mothers. The two-income household isn't the exception anymore. It's the norm. It's the default. It's the requirement. We've essentially deployed the emergency parachute just to keep the plane flying at normal altitude. And here's where the math gets absolutely wild. The median household income today, adjusted for inflation, is higher than 1970. We're making more money than our grandparents ever did. So why does it feel like we're drowning? The answer is about to blow your mind. Here's what happened to costs while income slowly crept up. Housing, in 1970, adjusted for inflation, the median home cost about $200,000 in today's dollars. The median home price in 2023, over $430,000. Housing costs have more than doubled relative to inflation. Healthcare, per household spending has increased by over 600% since 1970. 600% childcare. This barely existed as a major expense in the single-income era because someone was home. Today, the average American family spends $11,000 per year per child. In high-cost cities, try $20,000 to $30,000 per child annually. Education. College costs have increased over 1,200% since 1980. Not a typo, 1,200%. The fixed costs of being a middle-class family didn't just increase, they exploded. And every single dollar of that second income? Absorbed, consumed, vaporized. The two-income family doesn't have double the financial security of a 1970s single-income family. They have less, because their fixed costs expanded to eat both incomes, and they burn their backup plan just to maintain baseline existence. Now you might be thinking, Chris, this doesn't apply to me. We're smart with our money. Stay with me, because I'm about to show you the math of what actually happens to that second income. And it's going to change everything. Let's break this down with brutal honesty. Let's say partner A makes $75,000, partner B makes $55,000. Combined, $130,000. That feels like wealth, right? Let's follow what actually happens to that $55,000 second income. First, taxes. Because of progressive tax brackets, that second income gets taxed at the highest rate. The first $75,000 gets taxed at lower brackets. But that additional $55,000, top of the stack. Federal income tax, state income tax, payroll taxes. You're looking at 30 to 35% effective rate. Your $55,000 just became $36,000 in take-home pay. Second, childcare. You have kids. Of course you do. You bought the house in the good school district for them. Average daycare cost in America? $15,000 per year per child. Got two kids? That's $30,000. Your $36,000 just became $6,000. Third, commuting. Two working parents means two commutes. Gas, maintenance, vehicle depreciation, parking, tolls. Average cost, $5,000 to $8,000 per year for that second commute. Need a second car you wouldn't otherwise need? Add the payment, insurance, registration. Call it $10,000 total. Your $6,000 just became negative $4,000. But wait, we're not done. Fourth, the exhaustion tax. This is the one nobody talks about. Two exhausted working parents means zero time and energy for cooking, cleaning, home maintenance. Studies show dual-income families spend $5,000 to $10,000 more per year on takeout and delivery, pre-made meals, house cleaning services, lawn care. Everything that used to be free because someone had time to do it. Because nobody has the energy to cook after a 10-hour day plus commute. Nobody wants to clean the house on Saturday when it's your only day off. Nobody can handle meal prep when you're already running on empty. So add another $7,000 in exhaustion expenses. The final tally, $55,000 second income, minus $19,000 in taxes, minus $30,000 in childcare, 2 kids, minus $10,000 in commuting, minus $7,000 in exhaustion spending. Net contribution, negative $11,000. That's not a typo. Someone is working full-time, away from their family, missing their kids grow up, grinding through traffic, stressed beyond measure, and the household is actually losing money because of it. Even in the best-case scenario with one child, you're netting maybe $2,000 to $3,000 per year from a full-time job. That's less than $1 per hour. Now here's where the trap gets diabolical. Because even though the net is near zero, the gross numbers look huge, and that's what destroys you. Let me explain. Because you see $130,000 on your tax return, you feel wealthy. You make decisions based on that $130,000. The bank looks at your combined income and says, yes, you can afford this $450,000 mortgage. And technically, you can, as long as both incomes flow forever, as long as nobody gets sick, nobody gets laid off, nobody burns out, nobody needs to care for aging parents, nobody has a child with special needs, as long as life never happens. This is the moment the trap snaps shut. The single-income family from 1970 had something you don't have: flexibility. If the breadwinner lost their job, the stay-at-home parent could find work. Not ideal, but possible. It was margin. It was resilience. It was a backup. You've already played that card. Both incomes are fully deployed, fully committed, fully spent. There is no backup. There is no reserve. There is no margin. If either partner loses their job, the family doesn't just lose income. They can't maintain their fixed costs even temporarily because those costs were sized for 2 incomes. This is why research shows 2-income families are more likely to file bankruptcy, not because they're irresponsible, because they're operating at 100% capacity with zero margin for error, like a car running with no oil. Everything works fine until it doesn't, and then everything breaks at once. A Federal Reserve study found that 40% of American adults can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. 40%. Many in dual-income households making 6 figures. They're not broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because their expenses expanded to consume every dollar, and they're one transmission repair away from financial collapse. So what do? You can't just quit your job. You need both incomes to survive the life you've built. That's exactly the trap. But here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Most families treat both incomes as permanent and build their fixed costs accordingly. They buy the house 2 incomes can afford, lease the cars 2 incomes can support, enroll kids in activities 2 incomes can pay for, and then they're stuck, trapped. Neither partner can ever stop working, even if they want to, even if life demands it. The alternative? What I call the one-income foundation. You structure your fixed costs, your non-negotiable monthly expenses, so they can be covered by one income alone. The second income becomes entirely discretionary. Savings, investments, debt payoff, lifestyle enhancement. But the critical difference? You could survive without it. You'd cut back. Sure, life wouldn't be as comfortable, but you wouldn't lose the house. You wouldn't go bankrupt. You'd have the margin that modern families have lost. Here's how it works in practice. Say your household makes $130,000, $75,000, and $55,000. Instead of taking a mortgage that requires $100,000 plus to service, you take one that can be covered by $60,000. You live in a neighborhood that's maybe less prestigious, schools that are good but not elite. You buy the house one income can afford, and you bank the difference. That second income, or most of it, goes straight into building wealth. Emergency fund first, 6 months minimum, then retirement accounts, max them out, then taxable investments. Every dollar invested is buying back optionality. It's buying the flexibility to have one partner step back if needed, to take a career risk, to handle a health crisis, to be present for aging parents, to actually have a choice. This requires sacrifice short-term. It means driving past houses you could technically qualify for. It means explaining to friends why you're not upgrading your lifestyle. It means resisting social pressure to spend like a dual-income family. But here's the payoff. Within 5 to 10 years, something magical happens. The investments you made with that second income start generating their own income. Compounding takes over, and suddenly you have what you thought dual incomes would give you in the first place: genuine financial security. The two-income trap isn't really about income. It's about flexibility. It's about margin. It's about having options. Our grandparents with one income had something we traded away: the ability to absorb a shock, to change direction, to have one partner focus on family without the whole financial structure collapsing. We traded that flexibility for bigger houses, nicer cars, the appearance of prosperity. But appearances aren't wealth. Cash flow isn't security. And two incomes aren't better than one if both are spent before they arrive. The families who thrive financially in the modern economy aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who preserve their flexibility, who refuse to let expenses expand to consume their income, who kept their backup plan in reserve instead of deploying it just to keep up. You can earn your way out of a lot of problems, but you can't earn your way out of a trap you don't know you're in. Now you know. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep grinding on the hamster wheel, working harder to stay in the same place? Or are you going to step off, rebuild your foundation, and create actual financial freedom? If this video opened your eyes, if you finally understand why you feel broke despite making good money, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to keep pulling back the curtain on the financial traps that keep hardworking people stuck. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's working 2 jobs in one household and wondering why it's not enough. The system is designed to keep you trapped, but you don't have to stay there. I'm Chris Cash, and I'll see you in the next one.